Oh boy, I love having kids. Well, how's it going, Tykes? You feeling alright? Hey, how's it going? I got you guys some new presents. How's that? Oh god, no.
Releases. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Mother Days the Wise?
God the pain.
I got you guys something, a limited edition Lightning McQueen pillow. Guess you guys didn't like that, okay.
Let me out of your grasp.
SEAL Team
Disgusting.
64.
I have acquired the allegiance of a multitude of lawyers to descend upon you like a plague of locusts and separate us from your unholy monstrosity. You have been warned.
Well, good night, fellas. I'll see you in the morning, I guess. Karen? Karen? Where's Karen? Oh no. Oh god, no. Where's Karen? 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 Hey kids, have you seen What? Karen? The kids? Oh, it's on now, Karen. Hold on. Give me a second with this. Karen! Bazinga bazonga, suck a mighty donga. Alright, so the way I'm gonna structure this video is I'm gonna talk about each individual episode. Alright, so Doctor Who Season 1. Let's frickin' go, boys.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh.
Gotta carry this stupid fucking thing all the way around. Ugh, it's all wet. It's gross. I gotta... Jesus Christ. Is there anywhere where it's not wet underneath the lid? It's all gross and gooey. Gotta carry it all the way around the house and drag it out across the driveway to throw it away because we got a long ass driveway. Shit. What's even in here? What is this? Is this like an old hose or something? Why is there paper in there? Well, whatever it is, it's apparently trash, so let's do this. So, in terms of just being a cohesive narrative and a quality story, it pretty much gets knocked out of the ballpark in this first season. You have like pristine character development, you know, epic conflict, and just this all around great story. It's got this really strong emotional core to it, like the heart's there. It's all freaking there. Let's just jump into it. So we got the Doctor, right? He's a special dude. He's so just the way the characters are built up throughout the season is really good, like legitimately really good. You know, you've got a few, like pretty much just two strong main characters, which is the Doctor and Rose Tyler, obviously. And basically, when they brought back the show, they kind of got to like resurrect the Doctor and make him into this whole new kind of character, right? And as the season progresses, you learn of the Time War, which is what happened, which changed the Doctor from being kind of a blander, grayer character. It's basically just a plot convenience that justifies making him an interesting character, to be honest. Because, like, classic Who, it was good, but like what's marked in this first season is the change of Doctor Who as a show from kind of the Star Trek style sci-fi that it was to more of a drama, a character drama. And so we see some great character development with the Doctor, you know. You get to see him built up in the first episode through a number of things. Like, for instance, when Rose first meets him, he's there to save her life and everything. And then the next time she meets him, it's very apparent that he has like superhuman capabilities. You know, you get to like kind of see this like a more neutral, you know, like his kind of neutral position. And then as the pilot progresses, they have that walk that they go on where they talk, and you get to see finally like his really dark side, and you get to see him develop as like someone who's been through a lot, who just kind of wants to make things right, who just kind of wants to do what he can to save people, and it comes off as incredibly genuine and authentic. You know, he's just a man trying to do the right thing. And throughout the season, this really gets built up in the decisions that he makes, because you can see, for instance, in the episode Dalek, it's like he's trying to do what he thinks is right and killing the Daleks, like killing the last one forever. And then at one point in the season, I can't remember which episode it is, but like he literally says what he does is he stands up to make a decision when no one else will. And so that's really, you get this strong core of who this character's supposed to be, and it's very kind of immediate that you get this sense of who he is and what he does. And this only continues consistently throughout the season, and like in the finale, the whole climax is based on if he can really go through with his decision based on the consequences that it's going to have. And so you get like this really cool character who gets developed, and like you get 13 episodes of build up to this final climax. And fucking climax, dude, the fucking season finale, man, it's just trust me, okay? So obviously the other character is Rose Tyler, and her conflict is less of kind of that making decisions things, and it's more of it's more impulsive and hedonistic. That's really like why the Doctor and Rose fit so well together in this first season. First season is he's a stoic and she's a hedon, right? She goes off with him because she wants to go on a pleasurable adventure out in the stars, you know. And this, like in the second episode, The End of the World, like she literally says, "Oh my God, I just went off with a man I don't even know to go see the universe." And so you get a strong sense of her character too, and she gets really well built up throughout the first episode. Like you can see her interests is not at all in the mundane like world that she already inhabits. It's like she's got this boring ass shop job that she is glad to be rid of once the mall fucking blows up. But as the season continues, she consistently chooses to keep going off with the Doctor and abandoning her family even after like seeing the emotional consequences. And so her conflict is trying to integrate this calling for adventure into her life with her family, and you get to see like a lot of really interesting conflicts between her boyfriend, and her mother, and like her father died when she was little, and you get to see that element come back later in the season too, and like there's just a bunch of really cool like elements of emotion that are just kind of built up and integrated together with her, and then together with the Doctor, the conflicts kind of mixed together to form like this kind of sense of this kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe almost, where it's these two lost souls kind of going through the universe trying to do the right thing, trying to find meaning. Like this first season, in a sense, it's really just a quest for meaning. And so, to go into specifics with the way the characters' development and the conflicts work, there are two major conflicts. One of them is with Rose and her family, and the other one's with the Doctor and doing the right thing. And what it comes down to is, it really comes down to what's the right thing to do, you know? Like, what does it mean to go out and do the right thing? What's the nature of being a hero? Because the Doctor, with him, it's having to deal with consequences, the consequences of his actions. He needs to make decisions, but he's got to answer for what happens because of those decisions. And with Rose, it's kind of similar. She's trying to find meaning as well, trying to do the right thing, but rather than doing the right thing in terms of saving other people, it's doing the right thing in terms of where she puts herself, like where does she fit in the puzzle. And so there are a lot of scenes throughout all the episodes where all these get built up, you know, like right off the bat in the pilot, like I said, there's that walk scene where the Doctor's kind of talking about his kind of purpose here. He's explaining who he is.
Really though, Doctor, tell me, who are you?
Do you know, like we were saying about the Earth revolving? It's like when you're a kid. The first time they tell you that the world's turning and you just can't quite believe it because everything looks like it's standing still. I can feel it. The turn of the Earth. The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling round the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me, clinging to the skin of this tiny little world, and if we let go, that's who I am.
And this arc gets brought back later, very particularly in the episode Dalek, when he has to make the decision of whether to kill the Dalek or not, because he thinks that the only thing he can do with the Daleks is annihilate them, because he's never seen any good come out of it, and it's made him quite cynical about him, even though he's very idealistic when it comes to almost anything else. And so you get to see that become a challenge as well. There's also something inherent in his character and this whole theme of doing the right thing and making the right decisions that kind of comes down to consequences, which is really fascinating, because there are a lot of episodes where he'll figure something out or he'll find a solution, but it's only short term and he has to face the consequences of it later. And well, that's a common theme too, because both the Doctor and Rose have to deal with facing the consequences of what they've done. And with the Doctor, for example, in the episode The Long Game, he's able to apparently fix this dystopian society, but then we later learned in the season finale that his attempt to fix it actually went awry and it completely fucked up everything later on.
But it's all gone wrong. I mean, history's gone wrong, again. This should be the fourth great and bountiful human empire. I don't understand. Last time I was here, I put it right.
No, but that's when it first went wrong. 100 years ago, like you said. All the news channels, they just shut down overnight.
But that was me. I did that.
There was nothing left in their place. No information. The whole planet just froze. The government, the economy, they collapsed. That was the start of it. 100 years of hell.
Oh my. I made this world.
And finally his conflict comes to a head when he's got to make a decision of should he kill the Daleks at the expense of all of the humans on the space station and on Earth, or should he let these terrible tyrannical creatures continue to oppress everybody just so that he can save the lives of the people on Earth, possibly. And the way that ends up being dealt with is actually really fascinating to think about from an archetypal sense. And the reason why it's so fascinating to think about is because that's when things start getting integrated directly into Rose's arc throughout the season, which is also quite interesting. Her arc, quite clear from the pilot episode, which is just called Rose, is that she's bored of life on Earth, essentially. That's essentially what's going on. She's got a boring shop job, a job in retail that she doesn't like. She's got a boring boyfriend that she's not interested in. And you can see very clearly her lack of interest. You get to see this kind of montage in the first episode of her life, and that's how it opens up, and you just get this kind of sense of, this is just boring. Throughout that pilot episode, you can see scenes of the way she reacts to Mickey versus the way she reacts to the Doctor, and you can see whether she actually has any sort of sexual or romantic interest in the Doctor is besides the point. You can see she's 100% more fucking interested in the Doctor than she is in Mickey, and that she probably ever would be in Mickey. And this completely justifies the decision she makes at the end of the episode to just run off with this random stranger. It's all built up quite meticulously and responsibly, and it makes for an interesting narrative arc. And this continues in the same sort of consequence framework of thinking about it. She comes back in the Slitheen episode. The what's it called? Aliens of London in World War III, and she comes back and she learns that she'd accidentally been gone a whole year instead of just a few hours. She ends up having to face the consequences of what she's done, which is abandoning the people that she's loved. And this is a really good way of forcing the character back into reality, because she can't just go off and do whatever she wants and get away with it, because no one can in real life. That's just, no matter who you are, you can't do that. And so rather than just trying to dodge around that or avoid that fact, the writers go straight for it and try to answer for it and deal with this kind of behemoth of an emotional conflict they've created. Rather than running away from it, they embrace it and they integrate it into the arc. Rose's conflict kind of comes back in Father's Day, which is another highly rated episode from the first season. And it's the episode where she tells the Doctor that she wants to go back in time to the moment that her father died, which is when she was very little, and she wants to see it because that's a part of her life that she has yet to have closure on. And it's a very sweet episode. She goes back and watches it, and she wants to be by his side talking to him while he dies. And so she goes back, but instead of doing that, she lets her impulses get the better of her, and she ends up saving her father from dying. And it creates this messy time thing that basically fucks everything up. And the only way that the Doctor and Rose could solve it is by sacrificing Pete, which is her dad. They can only solve it by sacrificing her dad and making him die like he was supposed to. And he comes to understand this, and he makes the choice for himself. And so this is another example of how the characters in the season have to deal with the consequences of their actions, and how it all comes down to making the decision of what to do, whether or not you think it's right or perfect or whatever. And then another episode, which I think is probably an underrated episode, is Boomtown, which happens right before the season finale. But what it's kind of a boring episode where they just go back to Earth and do some shit, and it seems like it's completely irrelevant. But it makes perfect sense within the arcs of the characters, because it's the episode that really kind of brings up all the consequences that they have to deal with and their bad habits, which are going to get them in the end. And what happens is basically one of the Sletheens from earlier that they were supposed to have gotten rid of is still in power and still having all these dastardly plans to kill all the humans so that she can profit off of the barren Earth. And so what the Doctor has to deal with is he has to directly deliver her to her own execution, and no one can be 100% sure that she's still as evil as she was, because she's vowing to change. She's constantly throughout the episode saying that she can and will change if they give her a chance. And so the doctor has to deal with this by still going through with it, even though, like, there's almost no moral justification for it. You know, it makes sense to let her go and give her another chance. And it's the doctor having to deal with the consequences of making the decision that he makes.
I promise you I've changed since we last met, Doctor. There was this girl, just today, a young thing. Something of a danger. She was getting too close. I felt the bloodlust rising, just as the family had told me I was going to kill her without a thought. And then I stopped. She's alive somewhere right now. She's walking around this city because I can change. I did change. I know I can't prove it.
I believe you.
And you know I'm capable of better.
It doesn't mean anything.
I spared her life.
You let one of them go, but that's nothing new. Every now and then a little victim's spared because she smiled, because he's got freckles, because they begged. And that's how you live with yourself. That's how you slaughter millions. Because once in a while, on a whim, if the wind's in the right direction, you happen to be kind.
And with Rose, she has to finally her conflict with Mickey comes to a climactic moment when, like, she and Mickey, like, become very upset with each other. Mostly Mickey being upset because he's very insecure and defensive. Like, that becomes a huge problem too, because she's finally fully committing to alienating her family and just going off with the doctor on her adventures. And so all of this, like, it gets built up a lot in Boomtown, and then the 2 episodes right after, which are the season finale, they almost perfectly address this conflict, because they throw the Doctor and Rose into a situation where they have to fix the problems that they've created. The Doctor has to deal with the fact that he makes decisions, whether they're right or not, and that he has to keep doing that, and he has to, like, be fully determined to keep his resolve. And Rose, he sends Rose back home so that she won't be in danger, but then she's stuck with her family, and she knows the Doctor's in trouble and she's got to get back. Now, this episode, this story, whatever, the season finale, it's famously known as the classic Doctor Who episode where Rose becomes God. And it basically, she convinces the people in her life to help her go and try to do the right thing, because now it's no longer about her, it's about her genuinely wanting to help fix things in the future. And so she looks into the heart of the TARDIS, she becomes God, she goes to the future and fucking obliterates all the Daleks and saves the Doctor and everything. And it's really weird to think about from an archetypal standpoint, because, like, you're just left wondering, what does that mean? What does that mean that someone who has to deal with their own consequences sort of ex machina themselves, but in a way it makes sense, because they still kind of left all their consequential behavior unattended? It's really weird to think about. But either way, this season does a great job of building up the characters, which is the main thing, and it does a really good job of building up the conflict. And so I just gave 2 huge examples with the Doctor and Rose and their conflicts. But for instance, with Mickey, like I said before, he's insecure and defensive. And here are just a few clips to show that.
I've been phoning your mobile, you could have been dead, it's on the news and everything. I can't believe it, your shop went up.
I'm alright, honestly, I'm fine, don't need to.
But what happened?
I don't know.
What was it though? What caused it? What are you drinking, tea? Nah, that's no good, that's no good. You're in shock, you need something stronger.
I'm alright.
Now come on, you deserve a proper drink. We're going down the pub, you and me, my tree, how about it?
Is there a match on?
No, I'm just thinking about you, babe.
There's a match on, ain't there?
Well, that's not the point, but we could catch the last 5 minutes.
Go on then, I'm fine, really. Go. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Bye.
You could come with me. This box isn't just a London Opera, you know. It goes anywhere in the universe, free of charge.
Don't. He's an alien, he's a thing.
He's not invited. What do you think? You could Stay here, fill your life with work and food and sleep, or you could go, anywhere.
Is it always this dangerous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I've got to go and find my mum, and someone's got to look after this stupid lamp. So.
And then with another side character, Jackie, you see pretty much like the same kind of development with her. She's incredibly two-faced, and she doesn't really care about doing the right thing as long as she can profit off it. And here's some clips to show that.
It's Debbie on the end. She knows a man on the mirror, 500 quid for an interview.
Oh, that's brilliant. Give it here.
Well, you've got to find some way of making money. Your job's kaput, and I'm not bailing you out. Bev, she's alive. I've told her. Sue for compensation. She was within seconds of death.
And either way, this show just does a very good job of illustrating characters and developing them.
Oh, I'm gonna come.
My arm hurts. See, this is why I need J.O. with my left hand so I can work that out. I've actually got a serious muscle imbalance between my arms because of the fact that I only need a J.O. with my right hand. When it comes to having a show, you can have great characters and a great conflict on paper, but if the show's quality is not very good, if the quality of everything that makes a show, you know, a show rather than just, say, a book or an idea even, then it's not going to end up being worthwhile. The show's got to have really good stuff. It's got to have all the good stuff, dude. Well, the show, it has that stuff, you know? When it comes to writing, for example, the dialogue is all pretty natural. It works. The acting's there. Like, everyone pretty much is like does a good job acting in the show. You know, all the characters are likable except Adam. Like, the dialogue's great. You know, whenever the characters are doing something, it pretty much makes sense except Adam. Fuck Adam. Like, the plot is usually always interesting. You know, the alien conflicts are almost always captivating, at least a little bit. The first episode's lacking in that because it's got to build up all the characters. But every episode has at least a somewhat interesting plot in regards to, the aliens and what they're doing and how all this is going to work and stuff. You know, so the plot and the conflicts are usually always handled pretty well, except when it's with fucking Adam. Seriously, fuck that guy. And then, like, you know, it's a standard when it comes to any art that you have to have tension and resolution to provide, like, any interest in it at all. And this show handles that quite well, too, you know. The pacing is usually decent, you know. This is Doctor Who we're talking about. This is a show where it can take its time when it needs to, but this first season does a very good job of streamlining that kind of old school slowness with a more modern pacing that really suits all the plots and the conflicts quite well, and it works pretty fucking good. It works real good. And it's just a fucking watchable show. Even if you're not looking for something deep, it's like you can have fun watching the more fun episodes. There are a lot of slower, more philosophical episodes you might want to skip, but I mean, it's fun. It's quite watchable. Fuck! It's all wet. Fuck! Look at that trail of wet it's leaving behind. See how long my fucking driveway is? This shit is ridiculous. I'm gonna switch hands to see if that hurts less. Oh wait, I'm contributing to the muscle imbalance now. Oh fuck, well this is more efficient anyway, so. Alright, so going through this episode by episode, I have a rating system that I'm gonna use when I'm going through each of these seasons. And it's going to be out of 100, alright? Now, by standout episodes, that just means I'm going to be talking about episodes that are below, below 70 or above 90, okay? Or actually, fuck, man, I need to actually make up my mind. I need to think about this kind of stuff before I do. I need to, like, write a genuine script instead of just having a 3-page outline. God. Definitely above 90. Those are always going to be the standout episodes. But, yeah, below 70, above 90 are the standout episodes. Stand out for either being really good or really bad. So basically, just some exposition getting prepared for this. If I rate an episode above 90, it means it's good. It's at least very good, you know, it's very well done. Like, the story aspects pretty much have to be all there, and then the actual technical aspects, the writing, the pacing, all that has to be done pretty well. I'll never really give much of a damn about the special effects or the visuals or anything, because I'm not really that kind of a critic. I don't have much of a taste for that myself. You know, I can appreciate good visuals, but I'm not good at critiquing them and analyzing them. I'm better when it comes to story and shit. So anyway, above 90, it's going to be a standout episode because the plot and the story are really good. You know, between 80 and 90, it means it's still quite a good episode. But like it would have a ways to go to be a standout episode. If it's between 7 and 80, it means it's still a good episode, but just it's nothing super duper special or anything. It's not all that interesting. Sometimes skippable. If it's between 60 and 70, that means the episode's a little less than good. It may not be bad, but it's just about average. You could pretty much skip it. Below 60, I don't even want to think about that with Doctor Who, but eventually you're going to see what kinds of episodes get on there. So, standout episodes, just diving right into it. The episode Dalek, it's kind of, it's one of the more famous episodes from the first season, and understandably so. The conflict in it is very well prepared. It's very spicy. It's very sweet. It's a recipe for success anytime you have the Doctor and one of his companions in any sort of conflict. And now the plot of this episode is basically Doctor and Rose go to 2012, which at this point is the future, because this show's actually kind of old, to be honest, which is fucking crazy to think about, but whatever. They go to a museum in the future. It's a private museum owned by a guy named Van Staten, and he's got a lot of alien relics there that are really cool. And one of the things he's got there is a Dalek. And so the Doctor and Rose are going there. You know, Van Staten ends up capturing them because they're not supposed to be in there, right? And so they find out that the Doctor and Rose find out he's got a Dalek in there. Rose is kind of separated from the Doctor at this point. She goes into the Dalek. She sees the condition it's in and feels a lot of sympathy for it, which makes her, like, she's always kind of a foil to the Doctor, in a sense, in the series. But this episode does, like, a really good job of standing out in that regard. That's really, all the really good episodes in the season are really good because the Doctor and Rose end up conflicting and being kind of opposites, like foils. I think that's why they're so attracted to each other to begin with. But Rose, she feels a lot of sympathy for the Dalek because she sees the condition that it's in. But when the Doctor finds out there's a Dalek, his immediate judgment call is that thing has to be killed because he's had a lot of experience with it. So it's a kind of conflict between conceptual opposites, innocence and guilt, you know, or young idealism and old cynicism, that kind of thing. And it's really well done because, like, you see them reacting differently. Both of the characters reacting quite differently to what the Dalek does. Yo, my house is getting called.
Are you in pain? My name's Rose Tyler. I've got a friend he can help. He's called the Doctor. What's your name?
Yes.
What?
I am in pain. They torture me. But still they fear me. Do you fear me? I am dying.
No, we can help.
I've come to help. I'm the Doctor. Impossible.
The Doctor! Exterminate! Exterminate! Exterminate!
Sir, it's gonna kill him.
It's talking. You are an enemy of
It's not working. Fantastic! Oh, fantastic! Powerless! Look at you. The great space dustbin. How does it feel? Back! What for? What are you gonna do to me?
So, this episode ends with this conflict between the perception of Rose versus the Doctor, finally coming to a collision course, in a sense, and you get this brilliant scene that's not only really well acted, you know, and really well written, too, from just, like, how human all the characters are, but it just shows, like, what's going on, and it really does a good job of revealing how the Doctor and Rose conflict to begin with. Another standout episode is Father's Day, which that's again the episode where Rose's dad, Pete Tyler, has to die because that's the way time went and that's the way it has to go, and that it's like a fixed point or whatever. They come up with the term fixed point later on in New Who as a plot convenience thing, but it's a really great episode because it's really just because the emotional core is done so well and the character conflict is set up so well too. You get to see, like, again, the Rose and the Doctor, their conflicting perceptions collide, and you get to see that through how Rose wants to save him, right? But the Doctor knows that time has to go the way it went, you know, or else there's going to be a bunch of paradoxes and shit. You don't want that. And so, again, it's an example of Rose's innocent idealism. It clashes with the Doctor's guilty nihilism, and like it's done really well. You meet Rose's dad, who's built up like as a real, genuine character with flaws. That's great. That's one of the great things about this fucking season of Doctor Who is that it, like, remember back when characters had flaws? I do. Alright, so the next standout episode is called The Empty Child / The Doctor Dances. It's another two-parter, and basically, this episode, it's the famous gas mask zombie episode, and the reason why it's such a good episode is because it interweaves, I would say the reason why is because it interweaves a lot of different ideas together in an excellent way, and it introduces a fan favorite character, Captain Jack, Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. He's in this, and basically he's a pansexual ex-time agent con man from the future, and he's kind of like Lando Calrissian in that he's charismatic, but secretly he's tricking everybody, and but he's got a heart of gold underneath that, and so that's like your standard character stuff when it comes to a character like that, and he's executed pretty well. And as far as like the pansexual part goes, this is actually, I would say, really fucking good representation in that regard, because like it's not shoved down your throat. It's not, well, in the case of Captain Jack, it might be, depending on if you're lucky, but it's not thrown in your face all the time. It's not like just the center of attention is not on his sexuality. It's on his character itself, and so that's what's really making his character so valuable here. But besides that, it's got an almost Spielbergian type of story going on behind the scenes, where it's 1941 London, and there's a girl who's trying to help a bunch of poor kids who are all like, you know, they don't have anything to eat because they don't have families. She's trying to help them survive, and she's like, what, 20 or something like that. And it's basically about the mystery behind who she is and why the gas mask zombies keep coming for her, as well as there's this medical frigate that Captain Jack led them to. He's trying to sell it to them for more than it's worth, pretending it's special treasure, some shit like that. The reason is not that important. It's like, it's the core of the story itself, which is, I think it's done very well. It intermixes a lot of these ideas, like the whole mother-son love that makes the Harry Potter story so wholesome. All that wonderful shit. That's The Empty Child / Doctor Dances. I give it a 96 out of 100. Very cool, very epic. So after that, we got the season finale, which is one of the most incredible season finales fucking ever. Like, I will gush about season finales of other shows like Milo Murphy's Law or whatever. That had a really good season finale. It was really well done. Or if it was the mid-season finale, I forget what it was, but it was really good. Fucking Clone High had a great season finale. So many shows do really good season finales, but this one's on another fucking level, okay? Just to show you right off the bat, I give it a fucking 98 out of 100. That's not something I don't just do that. I don't just give something a 98 out of 100, you know, unless it's Doctor Who, and then I'll probably fucking do that. But basically, God, I'm trying to figure out where to begin with this one. It's just so good. It's just so good. The basic plot is the Doctor, Rose, and Jack, who's been traveling with them, all wake up separated from each other in some dystopian future game show where if they lose the game, they die, which is it's a pretty common idea for something like this, you know, the fact like a real life game, you know. And like we've seen that before, like in the Sorcerer's Stone with the chess game, or in Tron. You know, it's not an uncommon idea, but like that's not like the center of the episode. Like the center of this 2-part episode is just going straight for the core of what this whole season has been about, with the character development between the Doctor and Rose, and what's going on between Rose and her family, what's going on with the Doctor and his whole arc about I've got to be the one to stand up and make the decisions, even if I have to face consequences that aren't worth it. And there's just all this, like, all of that is put together in just this really fucking intricately, really well done season finale. And the icing on the cake is the game show stuff, and then them trying to escape the game show, and then after that, them trying to figure out, okay, what's going on with this whole space station and everyone up here? This is fucking crazy. And then them, like, the space station becomes a fucking battleground between them and the Daleks, and the Doctor creates, like, a super weapon that's going to kill everybody. This is, like, finally, like, the climax of his character. He's got to make this decision. If he pushes down on the lever, he'll be a hero because he'll kill all the Daleks, but he'll also kill everybody on the space station and everyone left on Earth, which would fucking suck. But if he doesn't do it, he's a coward, and the Daleks win, and they might do some terrible shit. And so he's really got to, like, he fucking struggles with this. Like, it's one of the most famous scenes where he's like, right, he's like, it looks like he's working out, dude. He's sweating, his fucking face, his teeth are fucking bared, dude. And he's just pushing down on the lever. He's like, I'm gonna do it! And then he doesn't do it, because he's a coward. So that's all good. And then all the stuff with Rose, he sends her home to be safe, because he's like, I'm not gonna have you here, or you'll probably die. And so she's so intent on going back to help him and to help him save everybody there that she goes inside the TARDIS. She fucking uses a huge ass truck to open it up. She looks into the TARDIS. She becomes God. She goes back to the future to help the Doctor, and just with her fucking ultimate Cars ass mind powers, just fucking wipes away all the Daleks. Just like that. Like that. It's like, it's almost hilarious how much, like, some of the stuff gets flipped on its head a little bit, you know, with Rose becoming the most powerful character just for a few seconds. But, like, it's so fucking good. Like, besides all the character development stuff being done well, and the story being wrapped up, like, the setting and aesthetic itself and the whole concept of what's going on is really well done. And not only that, it's fucking fascinating. Like, legitimately, it's like you really want to fucking know what's going on here. How does this all work? How's it going to end up? I think it's incredibly well done. And then, as far as, you know, standard film stuff goes, the pacing and the tension is also really well done. It's like, I think it would be pretty easy to split it up into about 3 acts overall. It's like kind of a standard 3-act story, this finale, and it's just so beautifully done. Like, I could gush about this finale for fucking hours. Just trust me on this, alright?
My God, my TV!
I did it. I moved a box. Yay, me. Wow. Anyway, guys, it's time for a good old story now. I finished moving that box. So, when I was like 8 years old, up until when I was about like 12 years old, Doctor Who was my favorite show ever. Like, I was pretty fucking obsessed with the show, or at least for like a kid, how you can be obsessed with something as a kid. I've watched it on Netflix, because, I mean, obviously that's where you'd watch Doctor Who if you were an American at the time. The time being 2014. Well, 13, 14, about whatever. And then they took it off Netflix, so I've been like a widow for the last few years, but I found out about, I didn't find out about, I actually tried internet piracy, so, oh shit, I can't say that, that shit's fucking illegal. I found a way to stream the show that's completely legal and also free. The overall technique of this first season of Doctor Who, I would say it's actually really professional. From the writing, to the acting, to the cinematography, to the direction. I'm never talking about special effects, okay? I'm never talking about special effects or sound design, because I don't know shit about that. I don't know shit about it. Music, I'll say, it's good music. There's not that much of the music, I would say, that stands out in the season. Like, you got your title theme, which is pretty standard. I wouldn't say there's that much special about this Doctor Who title theme, just because it's just a modernized version of the original. It's nothing special. But like the music throughout the rest of it, it's pretty good. There are some good musical moments, like with Rose's theme. I think it's just called Rose. I don't know, it might be called Rose's theme. I forget. That's good. The Doctor's theme, this vocal, kind of ethereal sounding, dramatic, almost somber, but still like, it's like behind the walls of the universe itself kind of sound that I get from it. That's always a good musical motif that comes up throughout Doctor Who, a lot of Doctor Who, and it's good. And then you have, I'm trying to remember other musical moments. I know that the finale has some pretty good music that's just reserved for the finale, and like it really helps amp up the tension and the aesthetic. But besides the music, it's like everything's just done well. You know, I've talked about like the writing before. The writing's good, right? The writing's just fucking good. The acting's just fucking good. You know, not much of it I would say is amazing, although I do think the writing gets amazing at certain points. And I think from episode to episode, like there's some really great stuff across some of the episodes. And like I said before, this is one of those things that when I was coming back to it, I was like, oh god, it's gonna be one of those types of shows from when I was little that I liked back then, but it's cringe now. It's not. I enjoyed it more now than I did when I was a kid. It's fucking crazy. But I just want to talk about some of the overall techniques that were used and used well. Now, there are 4 kind of small ones that are kind of simple. They're pretty much inherent to the quality of the show itself, into the characteristic of the show, which is like foreshadowing. New Who is full of foreshadowing. Like even in the later seasons when it gets like just fucking thrown in your face all the time, it's still there and it's not done poorly. And in this season in particular, it's really not done poorly, because it's not like they shoehorn in certain things like, ooh, bad wolf, you know? That is kind of shoehorned in, but the subtlety of it makes it work. But besides that, the foreshadowing just comes along and that certain patterns recur over again, because of course they do. It just makes sense that they would do, and that goes along with the Doctor and Rose's character arc, like I was saying. The foreshadowing makes sense because these conflicts amplify the more that the Doctor and Rose try to go without facing them. That's how conflict works in real life too, and that's how like the stress and tension of everyday life works. You try to ignore the problem's going to get bigger, and so you're going to be like, wow, it's almost as though this is being foreshadowed, but that's just how it works. And that essence of storytelling and of reality behind what's going on is so well done in this first season. And then besides that, there's use of MacGuffins from here to there, like for instance the extrapolator, sometimes the TARDIS itself, the medical frigate in the gas mask zombie episode. Planet Earth itself was a MacGuffin for the Slitheenes, and usually MacGuffins, when they're brought up, are brought up as a criticism of whatever work they exist in, because they're often, weak plot convenience. But here they're used with subtlety and like artistic technique and competence, so that they legitimately serve to tell a story. They don't exist to force the story to happen. They exist because it makes sense for them to exist. That's why a lot of these techniques, can be abused very seriously and can ruin a story if they're shoehorned in, or if they exist only because they're cool, or if they exist to force the story to happen. But this is that's what I really like about this story when it comes down to it, is it's just a natural story that makes sense. It's real, but it's also fantasy, right? It's fantasy, but it makes fucking sense. And as in things lead to other things cause other things, it all, from a story perspective, it all makes sense. It's all really wonderful. I fucking love it. But then the next one is Poetic Justice, which is a more kind of subtle one. But again, this is like the foreshadowing thing, where if you do something, you're gonna face the consequences for it. That's just life, and that element of story is integrated really well, again, with the Doctor's character arc and with Rose's character arc. It's just really well done. And then the final kind of subtle one that I wanted to bring up is Audience Surrogate, where basically that's just where you have a character who represents how any normal person watching from the audience of the work itself would react to what's going on. And so that's always the companion. And I think Rose as an audience surrogate was done really well, not just by being a companion, because the companion's always the audience surrogate in Doctor Who, but just because Rose is a character who's bored with the mundanity, is that a word? Mundaneness? She's bored with how mundane, everyday, routine life is. And I think that's a good representation of probably all the people who go to watch Doctor Who, how a lot of them will feel. And that's a good representation of how a lot of people in general feel. And so, this show does a good job of saying, hey man, what you're going through with just being bored with everyday bullshit that you hate, it's completely normal. But look at this greater story that you could be a part of, like Rose was a part of. And that's what always drew me to stuff like Doctor Who and Harry Potter to begin with, I think, when I was a kid, was just all the you may be an everyday person facing everyday bullshit, but you have a chance to be a part of a bigger story. And so that's really well done, I would say, in this first season. And then, alright, so here's the behemoth of good storytelling, the behemoth element that has to exist if you want your story to not be a fucking mess, if you want it to not be just stupid bullshit. And that's show don't tell. I can't remember again, I'm recording this weeks later, this bit right here weeks later from the first bit, whatever, you get what I'm saying, probably, but I don't remember if I've mentioned this already, but show don't tell is used with absolute expertise and mastery in this fucking first season of Doctor Who. It's just so well done, dude. I mentioned before, you know, like, scenes where you can see, like, with how characters interact with other characters, you can see what kinds of relationships they're having, and you can see, for instance, when it comes to the pilot episode with Rose, you could see through how she acts around Mickey versus how she acts around the Doctor that she's much more interested in this fantastical world of mystery and adventure than she is in everyday life. And Mickey, to her, is kind of just represents her everyday life. You know, she's okay with it. There are things about it that she likes, but overall, she's just not interested. And then the Doctor comes along, this fucking hero, this fucking almost anti-hero in a sense, you know, so mysterious, so edgy, so, like, just like any kid would be fascinated just immediately, dude. And it's, like, you can, like, stuff like that really serves to build things up and make, like, the actual releases of tension and the climaxes seem like they make sense, seem like they belong. And just the use of show don't tell throughout, like, every episode, all the characters, whether it's something they show through what they say, or they show it through how they just appear, or whether they show it through the actions themselves, it's so fucking well done. I just, like... We're about to make contact with the ground. Oh. Where are we? There's nothing we can do. We're gonna crash. Ugh. Shit. Fuck. What's the status of the left wing? It's fucking down. It's dead. It's gone. Have we thought about contacting Ben Shapiro yet? The phaser's down. The phaser's down. Have we thought about asking Lacey Green yet? What? Have we thought about asking Tyler Oakley yet? Sir, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. The engine! It's getting worse! Yeah, I don't know what could possibly be causing that, sir. Number 2, what's the status of the computer? We're at a certified bro moment!
Bruh.
Get Bill! We need to get Bill! Sir, the left wing is down! Take that, liberals! Sir, what are we gonna do? Incidental music, play it! Aye, aye. Shit. Get Bill! Get Bill! 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 Did somebody say Bill?
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
No, not Bill Nye, Bill O'Reilly! O'Reilly! Bill! What do you want from me? Captain! We got bad news. I think we're all gonna die.
Oh shit.